Om Badram Karnebihi Shrunyama Devaha Badram Pashyema Akshabihi Rejatraha Sthirairangair Tushtuvam Sasthanubihi Vyashema Devahitai Yadayuhu Swastinaha Indro Vridrashravaha Swastinaha Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastinaha Tarksho Arishtanemihi Swastino Bruhaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi यो अन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाच इमां प्रशुप्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वदाम्ना अन्यांष्टहस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं लसतु श्रीमदानन्दतीर्थेन्दुर्नो हृदम्बरे यद्वचश्चन्द्रिका स्वान्तसन्तापं विनिकृन्तति पदवाक्यप्रमाणज्ञान् प्रणम्य शिरसा गुरून् व्याकरिष्ये यथाभूतं विष्णुतत्त्वविनिर्णयम्. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to folks who have joined us for part 22 of Mundaka Upanishad. So before I get started, here is a very quick quiz. And as you know, in our forum, Sankhya numbers are usually very popular. So my quick question here is, who is going to tell us what is the significance of number 24? Because that becomes quite important for today's Chintana. So I just want to get this opened up for discussion. Who is going to give us a brief overview of what is the significance of number 22 in Vedantic philosophy? Any takers? Sure.
22nd Bhashya on Brahma Sutra by Madhvacharya.
Brilliant answer, Sushil. Thank you very much for reminding all of us that number 22 is the 22nd Brahma Sutra Bhashya. It is a 22nd Brahma Sutra Bhashya composed by Srimad Acharya. 20 is Sankaracharya, 21 is Ramanujacharya, and 22nd is Madhvacharya. So thank you so much, Sushruth, for that. So we move on. So where were we? Let's think about the rishis: Atharva, Angirasa, Satyavaha, Angirasa, and Shuanaka, Devata, Aksharanamaka, Paramatma. So where were we? Fifth verse we did last week. Tasmad Agnihi Samiddo Yasya Suryaha Somat Parjanyaha Oshadayaha Pruthivyam Puman Reta Sinchati Yoshitayam Bahvi Prajaha Purushat Samprasutaha. So this fifth verse, number 5, as we discussed, is again an important number in Vedic philosophy, number 5. And we spoke about how Panchagni Vidya comes from number 5, how the journey of souls in the previous verses. Of course, Angirasa has been telling Shuanaka that look, from the various components of Brahman, various Tattvabhimani Devatas are coming out. And now the journey of souls was discussed in the 5th verse, which is a key concept of Panchagni Vidya. So now the question is, once this Jivas have come about, Tattvabhimani Devatas have also come about, what are these chaps going to do? So before we do that, let's think about the Adi Yajna aspect of this particular verse. So there we discussed that these names are there not because of some, just random names that are there. They have there with a purpose. When there is Agni, there is Surya, there is Soma and Parjanyaha. There is a significance to this, and that's what we did last week, Adi Yajna Srishti. So what are these guys doing? Agni is the Abhimani of, Agni is the Hotru in Swarga, says the Rig Veda. Surya is the Ritvik, and he is the Advaryu in the Swargaloka. Soma is the Udgatra Ritvik, and he in Swargaloka. Parjanya is the Brahman or the supervisor, not to be confused with Brahman. This here Brahman means supervisor, who ensures that Hotru, Advaryu, and Udgatrus are doing their jobs properly when there is a yajna or a sacrifice that is going on in Swarga. Similarly, in Mrityuloka or Prithvi, when we go to the temple and do our havans, okay, the priest is called Ritvik in classic Vedic parlance. Priest is called Ritvik. And there are 4 Ritviks: Hotru, Advaryu, Udgatra, Brahman. And each priest has got 3 assistants. So there are 16 priests. There is a Yajamani and the Yajamana together. They are doing yajna. Okay, so that is the basic anatomy or the structure of a yajna that is done in Prithvi Loka and also in Swarga Loka. It is the same. So what are these guys doing then? So I said Hotru, Advarya, Udgatri, and Brahman. So what are these guys doing? They are reciting certain mantras and so on, isn't it? So that is what we need to think about here, because in the previous verses he said, Agnir Murda, Chakshushi Chandra Surya Yoho, Dishaha Shrotre, Vak Vivrutascha Vedaha. So from the Brahman's mouth, Vak, the Vedas came about, was what discussed in the previous verse. So here what Angirasa does is, he is going to expand this. He's going to elaborate this for our benefit. The reason being, I think it's worthwhile thinking about this a bit more. So all the sentient beings have come out into creation. So Paramatma has brought all of us into existence, including all the exalted beings whom the Vedas call them as Tattvabhimani Devatas, but they are basically sentient beings to some extent like us, yeah, but they have higher capacities for knowledge and action and so on. So these guys have all come out. So what does our Paramatma do is he is so infinitely graceful and merciful for us that he also gives this body of, gives them the constitution, or you could call it as a manual. He gives them this manual to actually conduct their lives. He gives them their manual so that they can actually conduct their lives when they are in samsara. Let's not forget Tattvabhimani Devatas and also Jivas like us. We have all come into this samsara. So he gives them this manual. And he gives them this manual and says, look, do your conducts in life based on this. Okay. Why? So that you not only get an opportunity to know me and eventually join me in moksha. So that is one highest levels of reasons why Paramatma has given us this Veda, Vak Vibhrutashta Veda. The other thing, of course, is the universe is not a random thing, isn't it? Whatever is happening in this universe, whatever, the material things that we do, some of us may be scientists and we might be doing experiments. All that we do is we don't create anything. We just understand how things are operating. Yeah, that is what we all do in our day-to-day lives. We try to describe the functioning of the universe. Yeah, but we are not able to describe why this is so. That is an entirely different prerogative of metaphysics. Whereas physics tells us how things happen. Why things happen in a particular way is metaphysics. So what the Vedas do is they not only tell us and give us the rules as to how things are happening, but they're also telling us why things are happening as well. So it is a very comprehensive piece of, I wouldn't call it as literature, it's a comprehensive piece of source manual for sentient beings whilst they are in this journey of souls. Okay, so have that. Now let's think about this a little bit more. So that is the overarching perspective as to why Vedas have come. Okay, Paramatma, when he has created, he could have just got the sentient beings come out. He could have decided not to bring out the Vedas. If we don't have the Vedas, what would be our fate? What would be our, what would we be doing? We really do not know, but he has done it for our benefits. That is a key idea that you may want to ruminate on. Okay. So here I just want to spend, last week we were talking about these four Vedas, whether it is three or whether it is two or whether it is two or it is one and so on. So I just want to briefly look at this again and get some bearings as to what is going on here. Okay. So what is Angirasa saying in the 6th verse? He's saying, Tasmad Richaha Sama Yajumshi Dikshaha Yajnashta Sarve Kratavo Dakshinashta Samvatsarashta Yajamanashta Lokaha Somo Yatra Pavate Yatra Suryaha. So that is the beautiful, beautiful verse. So we are going to spend maybe this week and the next session on the first 3 words. Tasmad Richaha Sama Yajumshi is what Angirasa has said. Let us look at Purusha Shukta. Tasmat yajnat sarvahutaha richaha samani jagnire chandamsi jagnire tasmat yajus tasmat ajayata. Again, richaha samani yajush. Tasmad richaha samani yajumshi. So look at the sequence. Who is going to recite 9:17 for us? Gita 9:17. Can one of us go for this work? It's a beautiful verse. Anand, go for it.
Okay. पिताहम् अस्य जगतः माता धाता पितामहः वेद्यं पवित्रमोङ्कारः ऋक्सामयजुरेव च.
Thank you very much, Anandji. Beautiful, beautiful. So look at that. Richa Sama Yajumshi. So that sequence, so I've just put a note for us, observe the order. Yeah. And this is beautiful when you look at the Vedic verses. The sequences, there is Samanvaya. Everywhere, Gita, Purusha Shukta, so Purusha Shukta, as we know, is Rig Veda. Mundaka is Atharva Veda. Gita, of course, is a summary of essence of all the Upanishads. So the order in which these verses come also is significant. Richaha, Samaha, and Yajumshi. Rik, Sama, and Yajumshi. So first Rik, then Sama, then Yajumshi. So why is that the case? The case is Rik, as you know, is Archyate iti Rik. Riks are all verses in poetry, mantras. Immediately after Rik is Sama. Why? Because Sama Veda is music, right? And that music is not out of the blue. It's all the Rigs of the Rig Veda are arranged in music. So that becomes Sama Veda. Okay? So Rig, Sama Veda is nothing but Rig Veda in music. Then you have Yajumshi, which is the Veda of Yajana, but primarily in prose. So we have Rig Veda in Padya or poetry. And that when it is set in Gana is music. And then there is another one in prose, Yajurveda in Gadya or prose. So as Suresh ji reminded us last week that communication, verbal communication among sentient beings can happen only in three forms. It could either be in prose, or it could be poetry, or it could be in music. So Srinivasanji at that point raised a very beautiful point. What about Atharva Veda? Atharva Veda is there, is the fourth shaka, isn't it, of the Veda. So what is the Atharva Veda? Is it a separate branch of some type of Veda, or it is just a mixture of either Rig Veda and Yajur Veda, or Padya or Gadya? So to try and understand what is Atharva Veda, we just don't have to go too far. We have to go into Mundaka Upanishad itself. The very first Mundaka, second verse, that gives you the lineage, isn't it? So when you look at the lineage, you have your answer there. Atharvane yam pravadeta brahma, Atharva tam purovacha angire brahma vidyam. Sa Bharadvajaya satyavahaya praha, Bharadvajo angirase paravaram. So we did that. Remember that lineage. So what is happening? Atharvane yam Pravadeta Brahma. So Chaturmukha Brahma taught certain portions of the Vedas to Atharva. And what Atharva did? Atharva Muni, Atharvam tam purovacha Angire. So the Atharva then gave it to Angira. Then Angira gave to Satyavaha, and so on. The lineage goes. So that is where your answer is about what is the position of Atharva Veda. So this Atharva Veda was given by Chaturmukha Brahma to his son Atharva. So what did he give them? He gave him a component of Padya from the Rig Veda and the components of prose from Yajur Veda, and said, you look after it. Okay. So that portion of the Veda which still has Padya and Gadya, that was looked after by Atharva Veda and all his lineage that is there in Mundaka Upanishad, that forms the Atharva Veda. Okay. So that also has Padya and Gadya. Yeah. So that hopefully gives us a bearing as to what are these four Upashakes that should not be confused with the fundamental unit called the Vedas. There is only one, which is Veda, and there are branches. So the first lineage, the first branch there is the four Vedas. Then within each Vedas, there are Upashakes. And then we have looked at that together, forming about 1137 Upashakes of all the four Vedas. Okay. So now the Vedas have emerged at the dawn of the creation. Yeah, that is what he said. Vak Vivrutashta Vedaha. This Vedas came from the breath of Brahman or from the mouth of Brahman. Okay. Vak Vivrutashta Vedaha. Okay. So let us again go back to Mundaka Upanishad. So again, we should not go anywhere. We should just stay within the Mundaka Upanishad because the answer is there as well. So here, for example, I just put this Prathama Mundake Dvitiya Kandaha, first verse. What does it say? Tadetat satyam mantreshu karmani kavayo yani pashyan tani tretayam bahuda santatani tan acharata niyatam satyakamaha yeshava pantaha sukritasya loke. Think about that verse, go back and revise. So what does it say? Here it gives how did this Angirasa is teaching that in the Skrita, in the Satya Yuga, everybody knew that Vedas were one. But then after that, slight changes kept happening. Okay? Vedas are one unit. Mantreshu karmani kavayo yani pashyan. Yajnas Paravidya only was done in the Satya Yuga. Undivided Vedas Paravidya only in Satya Yuga. Then slowly things, as we deteriorate, our the way we approach the Vedas also changes. Tani Tretayam Bahuda Santatani. So then in Treta Yuga, then yajnas become are done for various benefits. Sacrifice to other deities and through them to Vishnu. Then people started understanding Vedas as both Aparavidya and Paravidya. But in Satya Yuga, everybody knew that Veda was only Paravidya. Then, of course, there is a further deterioration that happens, and that happens in the Dwapara Yuga. And at the end of Dwapara Yuga is almost complete, almost near complete deterioration. That is when Veda Vyasa takes avatara, right? Avatirno Mahayogi Satyavatyam Parasharad Utsannan Bhagavan Veda Ujjahara Harihi Swayam Chaturda Vyabhajatit. So that is why Veda Vyasa at that point. So you can go back and understand the background to it. Chaturmukha and Rudra, they all go to Narayana and say, so the world is deteriorating. Vedas are being lost. Do something. So at that point, Narayana takes avatara as Veda Vyasa. And then he protects, he kind of collects all the Vedic literature or Vedic text that is available, and then he separates them out, he categorizes them, catalogs them, and gives to his Sishyas. So the first basic idea that we need to understand when we talk about this, Vak Vivruta Ashtaveda Tasmat Richaha Samani Yajumshi. So when we think about this, the first thing we should not forget is Veda is one unit. Veda is one. That is the first basic understanding. It is not four. It is one. Okay. So here I want to just break very briefly just for us to think about. And I was just looking at this. We actually did a session on Vedas 3.5 years ago. That was right at the beginning of the first COVID wave. We were doing this. So I think we need to bring back and think about this problem a little bit more, because when Mundaka says Vak Vivritashta Vedaha Tasmad Richa Samani Yajumshi, it's a very significant event. Vedas coming out during creation, at the dawn of creation. The Vedas emerging is a very significant event in creation for us, because without Vedas, we are nobody. Yeah. So we need to understand what is the Vedic philosophy view on what Vedas is. What is the Sanatana Dharma about Veda is? Okay, so here I have got a question. Vedas, authored by rishis, unknown author or anonymous work, nevertheless, it is a work of some rishi, or is it authorless? So that's the multiple choice question. So who wants to take this up and give us a view as to what the view is here? Suresh.
Vedas are authorless, perhaps, Apaurusheya Grantha, and they have always existed. There was never a point when they took a form or a shape. So that would be my understanding of Vedas.
Thank you, Suresh. Pragnesh.
Saying Aparushaya. So each always existed. There was another stanza that I remember. Brahma Smrutva, somebody recollected. So, so it was there, but it came out. Like I am recollecting what you have taught us earlier, that they are Aparushaya. So the knowledge was there. I'm just regurgitating it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. Anand. Thank you, Pragnesh. Anand.
So Vedas are eternally existing wisdom. Akshara, they have always been there. So Apaurusheya.
Thank you, Anand. Beautiful. Devalji.
So you've discussed that they have been revealed to sages in deep contemplation. So one form of communication, which is the highest form of communication, is where the soul receives the knowledge, which obviously knowledge is always there. It always exists and how we receive it is how the Vedas are received.
Beautiful, Devalji. Thank you so much. So amazing points from everyone. So unanimous answer. Vedas are authorless, says the Sanatana Dharma. But actually, this sounds ridiculous. Yeah. How can there be a body of text that is authorless? So I think we, as Sanatanis, we need to firm it in our consciousness as to why we think Vedas are authorless. And hopefully what I'll do is over the next 45 minutes or so, let's review these ideas a little bit more and almost a revision, because then it gives you the scene to progress on with this particular verse of the Mundaka Upanishad. Okay. So brief review, we are all experts on this. The other thing that we need to, Vedas, basic point number 2, means of knowledge. There are only 3 means of knowledge that exist out there for any sentient being, okay, period. And anything else that other schools of philosophies may say can be grouped in one of the 3. So there is the pratyaksha, that we use our sense organs and we understand the external world. Then there is the inference. Again, we use pratyaksha and have some inferential knowledge of the external world. But this anumana, this is called inference or anumana, which is always a dependent proof. Okay? It's either dependent on pratyaksha or it could be dependent on the agama. Then you have a bunch of revealed scriptures. Okay? Those are all the 3 sources of knowledge that I think most world philosophies accept this kind of approach. Charvakas, of course, they don't accept agamas. They're more interested in pratyaksha. Okay, the Tathagatas, they accept anumana and pratyaksha. Yeah, so there are so subtle differences, but most of us agree that there are at least 1 to 3 means of knowledge. And then we also understood that Paramatma or Vishnu or Narayana cannot be understood through material pratyaksha or material anumana, because he is non-material. He can be accepted or understood only through revealed scriptures. So there is your first clue as to why Paramatma brings about Vak Vivritashta Vedaha in creation. Because he is so merciful to us, he not only puts us in samsara and let us suffer in the samsara, but he also gives us a means by which we can escape the samsara and return or go to him. Okay, so that is the revealed scriptures or agamas. Yeah. So Vedas are the primary means of knowing the supreme and other supersensory entities, which we are very, very clear. So yeah, let's recite a couple of important verses that Acharya gives in his Bhashyas. Na indriyani, na anumanam, vedahi eva enam vedayanti tasmad ahuhu vedaha. Na avedavin manutetam brihantam sarva anubhum atmanam samparaye. Okay, so Vedas are called Vedas because they give the knowledge about God, not about car, TV, or iPhone, or pencil. Vedas may give us knowledge about that, but that is Aparavidya. The Paravidya, the primary purpose of the Vedas is to let us know about Paramatma. That is why they are called Vedas. Okay? The root word is vid. Yes, to know. To know what? To know Paramatma. And if we do not know the Vedas, there is no hope for us for salvation, says Taittiriya Brahman. Okay, so that is the highest. So that is how high level that Vedas have been given in our scriptures. Okay. But then the question is, you are claiming, so somebody may tell you, so you can claim whatever you want. Anybody actually can claim whatever they want, but they have to substantiate to show why they feel that way. Okay. So how to prove its authoritativeness? Yeah. Many do not accept it as authoritative. Okay. So this is a point that we need to accept. There are many human beings on earth. There are only a proportion of them who claim themselves of this particular, practitioners of Sanatana Dharma. And even in that, there are only a very few, such as the Satsangis here and in other places, who even think about these problems about Vedas and why is it authoritative. Yeah. So trying to understand why it is authoritative is very, very important for us. Okay? Because many schools of philosophies, as well as other philosophies and religions, do not accept this view. Okay. So Acharya in Pramana Lakshana defined Shabda. Nirdoshaha Shabdaha Agamaha. So what is a revealed scripture or scriptures? What should be, if there is a scripture that exists out there, that scripture claims that it is going to give us a knowledge about Paramatma, by definition, that scripture should be defectless. Okay? If it is a scripture with defects, then how are we going to know about Paramatma? Yeah. So The primary definition of a shabda or agama is nirdoshaha shabdaha agamaha. Defectless words is agama. Okay, so here I'm going to break for a minute. We will all be familiar with this. So what are the agamas? Who is going to tell us what are the agamas? I've said 4 plus 3 equals 7. Those are the primary agamas. I've given the clues here. So who is going to tell us? Anand, go for it.
The Agamas are Shastras, 4 Vedas, Mahabharata, Pancharatra Agamas, Mula Ramayana, Puranas that concur with any of the above, and anything else which concurs with the above.
Beautiful, Anandji. Fantastic. Brahmanda Purana, again, evidence given by Acharya. Rigadya Bharatam Chaiva, Pancharatra Mata Akilam, Mula Ramayanam Chaiva, Puranam Chayetad Atmakam. Yeche Anuayinastesham Sarvete Cha Sadagamaha, Duragamas Tadanyeye, Tairnagneyo, Janardanaha. So beautiful. So here, look at this point. I want to point out Mula Ramayanam. Brahmanda Purana does not say Valmiki Ramayanam. Watch those words. Rigadya Bharatam Chaiva, Pancharatra Mata Akilam, Mula Ramayanam Chaiva. And then as these form the primary 7 and anything that concurs with this. Thank you, Anandji. Beautiful answer. So that is the scriptures. So in Sanatana Dharma, if somebody says, oh, we have this particular scripture that we follow, what do you guys follow? We can say we follow 7 scriptures. That should be the answer. These are the 7 primary scriptures for us. Okay. So that is the brief recap of what Nirdoshaha Shabdaha Agama is. So when I say defectless words, then to know something is defectless, we need to know how can the words be defective. Okay. So that is the beauty of Vedic philosophy. No point is untouched. So our Vedic philosophy says any words, if you look at any literature, any scripture, anything that is out there, there are 7 possible defects in words. 7. This is a strange number, 7. Okay. Hold on to that idea of number 7 possible defects in words. Okay. So I'll just quickly go through this. Interesting. Abodhakatva, incapacity to impart any meaning. If I take KPTMA, it is a alignment of letters, but it has got no sense. That is called abodhakatva. Viparita bodhakatva, imparting an altogether contrary meaning. A biped has 4 legs. If I put a sentence, that is defective. Viparita bodhakatva. Jnata jnapakatva, imparting knowledge already known. Fire is hot. Aprayojanakatva, what is the use of describing a man who lives in Mars? Yeah. Anabhimata prayojanatva, producing knowledge which is not wanted. Okay. Conveying knowledge about weapons to a pacifist. Asakya sadhana pratipadana, describing the impossible, words attempting to make 2 parallel lines meet. Guru payopadeshaha, describing a difficult means when an easy one is available. To advise a thirsty man to dig a well for water when a river is nearby is a defective sentence. Yeah. So our Vedic philosophers look at linguistics. So those of us who are interested in linguistics, we can watch this and in amazement. However, Vedic rishis have actually given 7 defects are there in words. Okay. And then the words, of course, I don't want to go deep into this. I'm just giving a classification of words. Even that in linguistics is sorted out in Vedic philosophy. Every word needs to have these things, something called yogyata, sannidhi, akanksha. Every word has a shakti. Okay. Yoga, rudi. And this is interesting. Okay. Shakti means the meaning that comes out of a word. So when you see a word, you get a meaning, right? In your mind, brain, whatever. So the meanings of the word is called their shaktis. Yeah, that can be yoga. Yoga means etymological meanings. A classic example is Padmanabha. Rudi is conventional meaning. Ghata, pot. Yoga Rudi, it can be both. So these are some of the ideas about shakti of words. Then the meanings of words. The meanings of the word can be literal. That's called vachya. Or it can be metaphorical, also called lakshana. Okay. So, and in the Vedic scripture, in the Vedic language, there are a lot of metaphors and there are also literal words. Yeah. So we need to have these backgrounds before we try and understand the language of the Vedas and also to understand what is the overall scope of what we are trying to discuss here. So in Lakshana, for example, there is something called Jaha Lakshana and Ajaha Lakshana. And I just had a very difficult question here. I accept this. There is a third type of Lakshana called Jaha Ajaha Lakshana, which is very unique to monism or nihilism. So who is going to tell us what Jaha Ajaha Lakshana and where is it used? Sorry, it's a difficult question, but I'm sure some of you will answer. I can give a clue. Chapter 6, Chandogya Upanishad. No problem. So 9 examples when we are discussing Tattvamasi, the nihilistic schools of philosophers use their own self-invented metaphors called Jaha Ajaha Lakshana. Nowhere seen in the scriptures. There are only 2 Lakshanas, Jaha Lakshana, Ajaha Lakshana. Monistic school has invented a third one to interpret Tattvamasi. So I hope you will think about this when you read chapter 6. Okay. So after all that basic ideas, so complicated slide, the previous slide, I accept that, but think about words. Words is not a simple statement. There's so many inner signs in it. Okay? So nirdoshaha shabdaha agamaha. So that means a defectless word is agama. Then the question is, what is the criteria of defectless words? We understood what are the 7 defects that can be. So anything that does not have those 7 defects can be considered as defectless work. So in a work called Tattva Prakashika, Jayatirtha gives a beautiful definition of this. What is a defectless word? Vakya pramanyam tavat nirdoshataya sambhavati. Nirdoshata cha apaurusheyataya aptimulataya cha. So any sentence can be authoritative if there are 2 criteria, if one of the 2 or both are met. Okay? Let us take, what is the first criteria? It should be apaurusheyataya. Apaurusheyatvat vedasya. So we had a resounding answer that Vedas are apaurusheya. So if there is a body of literature which is apaurusheya, then they are defectless, is the claim here. We are still in the claim stage. We have not done detailed analysis of it. So one is apaurusheyataya. The second one is aptimulataya cha. Apti means an authoritative writer. So if there is somebody who is so authoritative and he writes something or he says something, then that becomes a defectless word. Okay. So then again, who is an apti? You can't, any Tom, Dick and Harry on the road cannot claim that he is the most authoritative or apti. So there are rules for this. Who is an apti person? He should be very knowledgeable, rather omniscient. No intention to deceive. He should have a desire to teach and he should have the ability to communicate. So these 4 criteria should be satisfied before you say somebody is authoritative. So when somebody claims out on the street that their work is the most authoritative work that is available out there for progress of mankind, we need to ask, is this apaurusheyataya or is it aptimulataya? If it is apti, are these 4 conditions satisfied? And the situation in which this particular was worked, Vaktru, Shotru, Prasanga, the one who speaks, the one who hears, what is the situation or the conducive atmosphere is there or not. Okay. This is where Brahma Sutra and Gita comes in. So I'll break for a minute just to get us thinking about it. So in Gita, for example, who is the Vaktru, who is the Shotru, and what is the Prasanga? So all this is ideal. So whoever composed that work is authoritative. So similarly in Brahma Sutra, so who wants to take a Brahma Sutra? So who, I've given the clues here. Who is going and asking whom and who is composed it? Who wants to tell us about Brahma Sutra first? Or Vedanta Sutra? So I gave you the clue initially. So yeah, so I'll do it. So here it's Chaturmukha Brahma who goes to Vishnu. Yeah, so Chaturmukha Brahma is the Shrotru who hears, and Narayana is the one who speaks. Okay? And if you look at Gita, Krishna is the one who speaks. Arjuna is the one who hears. What is the atmosphere? Both atmospheres we know, Mahabharata and end of Dwapara Yuga. So that becomes apti. So for Paurusheya, so this is the reason why I have to do this is, for Paurusheya or man-made or some soul-made work, you need to look at all this, okay, before you say this is authoritative. But then there is another piece of text called Apaurushaya. Yeah, so Vakya Pramanyam Tavat Nirdoshataya Sambhavati Nirdoshata cha Apaurushayataya Aptimulataya Apaurushayatvat Vedasya. So for those of you who are interested in this, just check out this particular Brahma Sutra 214 Na Vilakshanatvad Asya Tatatvam cha Shabdat. So that is where the discussion of how the Veda Vyasa resolves and says that the Shruti text are in a completely different league, okay, is what is being established there. So the gist of this is we can say that that Vedas are authoritative, not just because they are Apaurushaya, but also because they are Nityatva that Sureshji was mentioned. So you may argue they may be Apaurushaya, they may be Nitya, but still how can they be authoritative? Yeah, how is that possible? Do you not need somebody to verify whether this is authoritative or not? Do you not need a person who will sort of refer all these texts and say whether they are authoritative or not? And then there is a very important aspect of epistemology called Swataha Pramanyam, self-validity of true knowledge. A true knowledge does not need any external verification. A true knowledge is true in its own self, Swataha Pramanya. So that is areas of epistemology that if you're interested, you can go into it to understand why Vedas are authoritative. So three aspects, right? Apaurushaya, Nityatva, Swataha Pramanya. Those are the three reasons why Vedas are important. And when we say Vak Vivrutashta Vedaha, you need to think about these three aspects. Okay? So three aspects: Apaurushaya, Nityatva, Swataha Pramanya. Apaurushaya, unauthored. Nityatva, eternal, unchanging. Swataha Pramanya, self-valid. So in Tattva Sankhyanā, for example, this is beautiful. Nitya Vedaha. Puranadhyaha Kalaha Prakritirevacha Nitya Anityam Trida Proktam. Anityam Dvividam Matam. So when in Tattva Sankhyanā is the classification, so it's a text of ontology, classification of reals. And in the various classification of reals, Acharya will give us what is Nitya, what is Anitya, what is Nitya Anitya. So the classifications, go and do the Tattva Sankhyanā text, beautiful classification of non-sentient things. Yeah. So coming back to this Apaurishatvad Vedasya. Okay. How is this possible? Okay. So, yeah. So before going into, we had a chat forum. So Anand Kulkarni, all the Vedas are Apaurushaya. Do they not become Paurushaya when interpreted by humans? We'll come to that, Anandji. Excellent question. So Apaurushayatvad Vedasya. So the question is, how can there be some sentence, words and letters that are Apaurushaya? This is crazy idea. That is what the other schools, other philosophies, other religions will actually look at Sanatana Dharma and say, this is crazy, man. How can there be a body of text which is authorless? Okay. After all, what is a text? A text has several chapters. Each chapter has got several paragraphs, and each paragraph has got several sentences. Each sentence has words. Words is a combination of letters. Like any human composition. Any human composition, that's what it is. We group letters together, make words, join them, put them in a particular order, and then paragraphs, ideas, chapters, and books. So this is like any other human composition. So it is impossible that you may have that you guys may claim a body of text which is so authoritative. It is authoritative because it's unauthored. How on earth is this possible? So let us see how it is possible. Okay, so this is the Vedas basics point 4. Okay, the science of Apaurushaya. So once we get this idea of what is that science of Apaurushaya actually that Vedas are talking about, then perhaps maybe we will be able to reconcile what seems to be a contradictory idea of an authorless text. Okay, so this really boils down to what is sound. Okay, so that is where our Vedic rishis start. Okay, the Vedic Rig Veda talks about this. Yeah, what is sound in the first place? So let us think about sound. So beautiful way in which Devalji mentioned that it is the soul that gets some idea to do something. So if I want to compose something, it is the soul. Soul is the perceiver. Soul is the doer. Soul is the experiencer of everything. Soul. So it's maybe dependent, nevertheless, but it is doing it. And that is how it is using this chariot. We have learned that in Katha Upanishad, uses this chariot to do various things. Okay. So how is this happening? So let us say somebody in the satsang want to say something. Maybe we are talking about pensions at a social gathering, which really annoys me, but nevertheless we do it. Talking about pensions at a social gathering, and somehow we are bringing about with ideas. So what are we doing? Essentially, we are sending some, so your brain, we are sending some signals to the mind is sending to the brain is then sending nerve impulses, the nerves go to the vocal cords, right? Vocal cord, where what is happening in the vocal cord, there is a small little piece of space in the vocal cord, and there's various, things that are there in the vocal cords. They move up and down, and they create some pressure in the space in the vocal cord. Okay. That is what travels. And then what are we doing? We're sitting around using our ear. Our ear has got what? External ear, middle ear, and inner ear. So in the middle ear, outside, what is happening? These pressure waves, they hit the eardrum, and then that gets processed. They hit the eardrum, and then they get processed into nerve impulses. Then it goes to the brain, mind, and then the jiva then says, now I have heard something. So that is the whole process of sound. Yeah, so we need to think about it at that level to understand why Vedas are considered as Apaurusheya. Okay, so first, physics of sound. Sound travels through air as waves. Air is in Bhutakasha. Don't forget that. Panchabhutas, it is the last differentiation, the grossest differentiation of the 24 tattvas that we have done in this. Angirasa has taught us all this. So, Bhuta Akasha. Air is in the Bhuta Akasha, like in this earth, there is the atmosphere, there is air. When we speak, the vibrations of our vocal cord compresses the air around them. The compressed air moves the air around it, which carries the sound waves. When these compressions reach the ears of a listener, his or her brain interprets that activity as sound. Sound waves cannot be transmitted in vacuum. Okay, so these are some of the points that I picked up from some physics textbook about the physics of sound, which makes perfect sense, which is what our rishis have actually spoken about. That there is a space here, which is where the sound is made. That is for us when we are talking about pensions at a social gathering. What about Vishwamitra? When he saw Rig Veda, Vishwamitra Mandala is the third mandala, right? 62nd Sukta, 10th Rig. Om Bhur Bhuvaswaha Tat Savituhur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. So when he recited this using his vocal cord, and then we have all heard this, how did he perceive this? And how did we perceive this? Is there any difference in that, or is there any difference here? That is what it boils down to, because this is, we are saying, is Paurusheya. What we are talking about pensions is a Paurusheya Grantha, whereas what Vishwamitra has intuited is an Apaurusheya mantra, is what we are saying. Right? So hold on to that idea. So what is it actually that is going on here? So as I said, here, air is in Bhutakasha. So we need to be thinking about these problems. So look at this. And again, this 24 tattvas that have emerged from, Mula Prakriti. So Mula Prakriti, Shri Bhu Durga, Mahat Tattva, Ahankara Tattva, Vaikarika Tejasa Tamasa. Tamasa, you have Pancha Tanmatras. Pancha Tanmatras, you have the Shabda, which becomes the Akasha. Pancha Bhutas then come from the Pancha Tanmatras, and then comes the Akasha. So it is here. The air has come at a very later stage of, very, very later stage of creation. Okay. So the question there is, does that mean Lakshmi and Narayana cannot communicate because there is no air here? The Chaturmukha Brahma cannot communicate with Saraswati or with other folks in Satyaloka because, not in Satyaloka, but during creation that he is not able to communicate. Rudra cannot communicate. Do we really need air to communicate? Okay. Think about this problem, because that is what the rishis are asking that question. Okay. How do Lakshmi and Narayana communicate? So in Mahapralaya, Lakshmi is prompting, please Narayana, do something, bring creation forth. How is that communication happening? Okay. Higher levels of Vedic philosophy, which has been addressed in great detail in Sanatana Dharma. I hope you will find this interesting, because even the term Big Bang is not scientifically sound, to be very honest with you, because people say Big Bang and there is a big explosion. Why do you call it as Big Bang? Big Bang means there is a sound. The sound has not come at that point, because the Akasha has evolved later point of Big Bang. Yeah. So even the concept of Big Bang, from my perspective, is scientifically unsound. It is not a correct physical statement. Nevertheless, scientists use this and they flaunt certain theories, which is increasingly being disproved day by day. Particularly with the new telescopes, we are now being told that the universe is not 13 billion years old. The universe is far older than that. There is even some guys who are saying that the signals from the previous creation is now being absorbed by this telescope. Yeah, so go through this, it's very interesting. So communication. Yeah. So you don't necessarily need to have a air medium to communicate, to have a verbal communication. So this is what I'm saying here. It's a complicated statement that you don't need air, or air is only a medium for verbal communication. Okay. So here I'll give a very interesting quiz here. So whoever answers this question, I will send them a gift. Okay. So which movie involves aliens communicating in a different way? So I've even given you this picture of this movie. Okay. So here is an alien life form which comes to Earth and it tries to communicate in a different way. So which movie is this? Anybody?
Avatar.
No. Sorry, Shopaji. Good try. Anything else?
I only saw Avatar in the last 40 years. Only one movie I saw Avatar.
Okay. Anybody else wants to take this? Arrival. Check that out in Netflix tonight if you're free, yeah? Or in Amazon Prime. I don't know if it's available. So Arrival. See that movie, Arrival. It's an interesting movie on communication, linguistics. Yeah, how these aliens here, they throw these smokes and communicate with humans, how they communicate that way. Okay. And these aliens cannot live in air. They die. Air is very toxic for them, but they communicate. It's an idea. So what I'm trying to say is communication happens, but you don't need a vocal cord necessarily. But vocal cord is only is required for humans and other living beings on Earth. So Sarajji, go for it.
Yes, Madhusudanji, just a comment. An interesting fact for all of you in case you don't happen to know it. So near Tirupati, there is a temple called Guddipalam. If I'm pronouncing it right, we had gone and seen it. And that has the oldest Shivalinga on the planet. And just a few kilometers from there are dolmens. And these dolmens are basically structures which have been constructed using granite slabs. And they are just about 3 or 4 feet tall. So they have been a source of biggest mystery. Now this Guddipalam Shivalinga is quite unique and it's quite amazing because it shows the Shivalinga platform on which the Shivalinga rests. That almost looks like a space pod, and the Shivalinga itself looks like a rocket, and there is a door opening through which the Shiva seems to be coming out. So that is the only place where the Shivalinga has been depicted this way. No other place in planet has it been depicted this way. So in future, if you happen to go to Tirupati, it's just about 40 minutes from Tirupati, Guddipalam.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sarajji, for that piece of information. Very, very interesting. So, yeah. So aliens also communicate. We also communicate. There are different ways of communication. But if you take verbal communication, making sound is one type of verbal communication. Is that a right way of approaching this? Let's look at it from a slightly higher level of Vedic science of sound. Okay. So our Vedic rishis tell us sound has two components. One is the unmanifested form of sound, and they call this as varanas. And then there is the manifested form of sounds that we do using our vocal cords, or most animals, they all do that. So we use our vocal cords and we manifest that sound. Okay. So two components. One is the unmanifested form and the other one is the manifested form. The manifested form is the dhvani, whereas the unmanifested form is varana. So when Vishwamitra says Om Bhur Bhuva Suvaha, he is manifesting through his vocal cords. But even before manifestation, our Rishi says there was a sequence of varanas. Unmanifested sound. Okay, here is the claim of our Rishis that these varanas are eternal and all pervasive. Okay. Whereas the dhvani that we manifest with our vocal cords is very temporary, right? It is anitya because we use sounds, words, sentence, etc. And then we just say something and that something is gone. Yeah. So that is what it is. The Dwani is Anitya, it comes and goes, whereas there is an unmanifested form of sound called Varana, which our Vedic Rishi says they are all pervasive and eternal. Okay. Again, this sounds crazy. You are just framing it. You're just making up a story here. Oh, there is an unmanifested form and there is a manifested form of sound. No. What I want to do today is, let's do a simple experiment. We have got 3-4 continents here at this point of time. So let's do a very simple experiment. Okay. I'm going to go to Aitareya Upanishad, Maha Aitareya Upanishad, where it said Aha iti Brahma. The sound A is Brahman. Aha iti Brahma. Okay. So let's say the letter A, for example. A denotes Brahman. Yeah, A, the letter A. Okay. So I'm going to ask, let's do India first. So Saraji, do you want to say Aha iti Brahma or say letter A for us?
I couldn't catch you, Madhusudan ji.
So just recite, just say the letter A. Just say A.
A.
Thank you. Padmaja ji,
Sir.
do you want to say A?
A.
Thank you, Padmajadi. If Pratibhaji is there in Dubai, do you want to say A, Pratibhaji, if you are in call?
A.
Thank you very much. Neeta Shishrut in Italy, do you want to say A?
A.
Thank you. Pragneshji in UK, do you want to say A?
A.
Fantastic. So we got some friends from the US. Shobhaji, do you want to say A?
A.
Thank you very much. So we got different continents saying the letter A. And we have all, for example, from India, when somebody said A, when Sharaji and Padmajasi said A, we all heard it. And so is from Dubai, from Italy, from England, from America. So we've all heard that letter A. Aitareya Rishi, let's say 5,000, 6,000 years ago, he also said the same letter A. He also said Aha iti Brahma. He also says the same letter A. We have recognized that particular letter A and we are also reciting the same letter A now. Okay, think about this. How was this possible? What was said some 5,000, 10,000 years ago and what we have said in series in different orders, we are all saying the same letter A now. So the question is, where was that letter A? Yeah, the one that was said by Maha Aitareya, the Aitareya Rishi, that he said. Okay. So this is one of the arguments. You need to think about this. We don't have time to go into the whole nuances of it, but this is a simple example to show that the Varana A that was available for Aitareya Rishi, yeah, some several thousand years ago, the same Varana is now available for Sarat, Padmajaji, Shobhaji, and all of us to now bring forth and manifest this in sound and say the same A. So what that is telling us is this unmanifested sound called the Varana was there in the past. It is there now in the present, and it will also be there in the future. It is all pervasive and it is always eternal. Okay, so that is the idea of, I'm building up the plot here to say why the Vedas are Apaurushaya and authoritative. Because that is what is going on here, that Varana aspect of sound is eternal and all pervasive. The Dwani aspect of sound which we make is very temporary, whereas the Varanas are very, very eternal. Nacha ucharana kale eva varananam utpatiriti vachyam tadevedam vachanamiti pratyabhigna virodat. Acharya statement. If anybody wants to know the signs of why Vedas are Apaurushaya, I kindly request them to go to Madhvacharya's work called Vishnu Tattva Nirnaya, Paricheda 1, the first chapter that talks about only this, why Vedas are Apaurushaya and why they are authoritative. Okay, Saraji, I'll come to you in a minute. So I hope that makes some kind of a new idea for us to think about, that sound has two components, Varana and Dwani. So Saraji, go for it, and then they will.
Apologies, Madhusudan ji. I didn't lower my hand, so please carry on.
No problem. They will.
I just wanted some clarification. So, if you research different types of speech, there are 4 stages of vak that is described in, when you read some of the literature.
It's called
Uh,
para pashanti madhyama vaigari.
Exactly. Thank you, Sudarshan. How does that fit in with what you are just
So
describing?
that is all Dhvani. So when I say Om, when I say that, I start from my navel and then I bring up. So that 4 components are still the manifestation of sound, the Dhvani aspect, Devanji. So yeah, so this is something to think about. Yeah, the Varanas
Thanks.
and Shabdas, and I'm introducing this idea here. Let's move on. So with this, let's build the plot a little bit more. So now we understand there is Dhvani and there is Varana. So in linguistics, Dhvani is called sound or utterance. It's got an origination and a destruction. Varanas in linguistics is called phoneme. Okay, so our rishis have all described this thousands of years. We don't need to study. As in the universities of people who do linguistics, they look at phoneme and sound. Phoneme is the unmanifested form of sound. Yeah, it's called phoneme in Western philosophy or linguistics, but our rishis call it as Varana. And in the Vedas, this is eternal because I just demonstrated to you with the letter A of what was said by Mahaitareya Rishi several thousand years ago, and we are still saying the sound. How is that happening? And based on that, these Varanas have no destruction, they have no origination, they are all pervasive in space, can be heard only when manifested by Dhvani. Okay? Each Varana has a different Dhvani. Speaker, faculty, Varana, manifested and grasped by a listener. So that is the sequence that I have spoken about. So Varanas are infinite. Okay, that is another deep concept of Vedic philosophy. Varanas, there are infinite Varanas. We don't know how many Varanas are out there. But what we have done is we have captured the 51 Varanas, Akara to Kshakara. 51 Varanas we have captured. Yeah, we can absorb, we can capture those Varanas with our ability as mundane souls, not mundane souls, as rishis. Yeah, that 51 letters, they form the Vedic alphabets. Okay, so for example, here, this is a very, very key concept here. So when I say Jalam, so what have I done? I've spoken the word Jalam, which is a Paurushaya. I have now said Jalam. Groups of phonemes arranged by human effort or composition, Jakara, Akara, Lakara, Akara, Makara, and Jalam. So I have said Jalam, which is a human composition, which is Paurushaya. I have put J-A-L-A-M and now, and I have said Jalam. Okay. Think about the Vedas. Acharya gives us the definition and answers this. Ata Akasha Shabde, Ata Akasha Gune Shabde Vyanjamanaha Varnadayas Tat Kramatmako Vedashcha Nitya Eveti Siddham. Very, very important. Varnadayas Tat Kramatmako Vedashcha Nityam. Eternal sequence of the eternal Vedas form the eternal Vedas. Eternal sequence of eternal Varanas form the eternal Vedas. Okay, so this is what Vedas is. It is not just the sound that a Purohit recites. Eternal sequence there. So our Vedic Rishi says there must be an eternal sequence of Varanas that must exist and be coming out with every creation. That eternal sequence of eternal Varanas is what really eternal Vedas is all about. Okay, so that is the definition of Apaurushaya. Okay, so I just want to maybe another 5 minutes, just finish off with this idea of this is the source of why we call ourselves a Sanatana Dharma. Okay, so I'll come to that in a minute, but let's think about why do we call ourselves a Sanatana Dharma? Who wants to share their thoughts here? Why is we should resist saying I am a Hindu? You should just say I am a follower of Sanatana Dharma. Why do we say that? Anybody wants to
Because
share
that
some ideas?
word Sanatana has the meaning, isn't it? Sat plus Nadana, you have written. It's truth, I mean, God, then the sound and God joined, and I think it becomes Dharma.
Thank you, Shilaji. So we had Anand and then Sharat. Anand, go for it, and then Sharat next.
So Sanatana Dharma is Dharma which is forever there. So there are different types of dharma, like Sanatana dharma means it is eternal one. It's an eternal dharma, ever present, unlike Swadharma or the dharma of the society or any other dharmas. So this is ever present, Sanatana.
Thank you, Anand. Saraji?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I like to take a more historical point of view. I think Sanatana Dharma was a more encompassing kind of a religion which had a lot of freedom to explore and reach the divine from any kind of sources. So we had caveats of even the ancient Greek religion, paganism, and then the ancient Persian religion, Zionism. All these were, I think, parts of Sanatana Dharma. So in Sanatana Dharma, it's okay to believe in God. It's also okay not to believe in God. So that's the thing. And Hindu, I think, was a very derogatory term which was coined by the Muslim invaders. So Hindu Kush is an area, where a lot of Hindus were actually massacred. So Hindu, I think, is not a correct word to be used. For us, Sanatana Dharma would be a more appropriate word.
Thank you very much, Saraji. As usual, thank you very much for new ideas that you have shared today. Yeah, so there are various views of thinking about Sanatana, Dharma, eternal religion, eternal Dharma, eternal righteousness, eternal religion. This particular philosophy has no end, no beginning. All those ideas are here, but they all come from what I've described so far, Apaurushaya Grantha. Yeah, Sanatana. Look at Sanatana and Dharma. San, Sat. Natana, Nadana, Dharma, Dharma. Sat means nirdushta. Nirdushta means defectless. Nadana means sound. A defectless sound that talks about dharma. Dharma means what? It can be rhythm. It could be any universal law, universal, how the universe works, what is the nature of things. Dharma has got so many meanings. One meaning dharma in Vishnu Sahasranama 43. Dharma is a name of Narayana. This Vishnu's name is Dharma. Yeah. So I'm just giving you one perspective. There are so many other perspectives of this. So this nirdushta, this defectless sound that talks about not only the universal rules and natures of things that have all come out in existence, but also about that Paramatma who has brought everything into existence. So if you want to know about all the natures of the universe as well as its creator, then you have to go to this Sanatana, which is the Apaurushaya Veda, which is the eternal sequence of eternal Varanas, which forms the eternal Vedas. So over the next 5 minutes, I just want to close this. Why is it eternal? Did God not create the Vedas? Did God not compose the eternal sequence of eternal Varnas? Is an important question. Yeah. So this is the question asked by Nyaya Vaiseshika schools of philosophers, and they say God composed the Vedas. It makes perfect logical sense. We can say God composed the Vedas. Why do you have to say it is Apaurushaya? So in the Catholic philosophy, there is this circular reasoning. Bible is the word of God. But how can you be sure that it is the word of God? Because the Bible tells us so. But why believe the Bible? The Bible is infallible. But how do you know it is infallible? Because the Bible is the word of God. So you can go around with this discussion that is called circular reasoning in Catholicism, which is what our Nyaya Vaiseshika school of philosophy also asks the same question about the origin of the Vedas. Is it not the composed by Vedas? After all, Mundaka Upanishad said, Vak Vivritashta Vedaha, that from the God's mouth, Vedas came. Does that not mean that he is actually composed the Vedas? Okay. So let's recite this 15:15 verse that gives us a clue as to what's going on here. So who is going to recite 15:15? Pragnesh, go for it. Or Sharaji, if you have raised your hands, this time I'll ask you to go for it. No? Okay, Pragnesh, go for it. Sorry, thank you.
Vedaischa sarve rahamev vedyo vedanta kuded videva chaham.
Thank you. So look at this 15:15 verse, very important verse. It says, Vedaishta sarvair ahameva vedyaha. Through the Vedas, I only know the whole of the Vedas, and only through the Vedas you can know me. Okay, to know this Vedas, I've composed this Vedanta Krit. Krit means composition. I've composed Vedanta. Vedanta means Vedanta Sutra. But here Krishna says Vedavid. I know the Vedas. He did not say Veda Krit there. So you have to watch these words, what Krishna is saying here. He says Vedanta Krit, but he doesn't say Veda Krit evecha aham. He says Vedavid evecha aham. There is the clue of the genius of Vedavyasa, who says that I know the Vedas. Okay. So when you look at this 1515, the circular reasoning probably is not a big problem as described by Nyaya Vaiseshika schools of philosophers. Because the key question is, in which creation God said Vivritashta Vedaha? In which creation did this Vedas come out from the mouth of Brahman for the first time? That is the question. Okay. In which creation? Because for us, what? There was never a point that creation did not exist. Creation is an eternal cycle, isn't it? Creation is an eternal cycle of, creation, dissolution, creation, dissolution. So according to Vedic philosophy, there was never a point where creation did not happen. Okay. So the question there is, yes, Vak Vivritashta Vedaha, as Angirasa has said. So that appears that Vedas were composed by Brahman. But then the question is, in which creation did he do it the first time around? There is no beginning in creation. It is an eternal cycle of creation. And that is where the answer is. Brahmanda Purana talks about this and Acharya cites this. Nitya Vedaha Samastashta Shashvata Vishnu Buddhigaha Sarge Sarge Amunai Vete Udgrirante Tataivacha Tat Krameneva Tair Varanai Stair Swaraireva Na Anyata. So let's not go into this, but just look at this word. Nitya Vedaha Samastasta Shashvata Vishnu Buddhigaha. So the Brahmanda Purana says, these Varanas are there in the mind of Brahman. And in every creation, it just comes out. Vak Vivritashta Vedaha Tasmat Richaha Samani Yajumshi. Okay. But then it has been in the mind of Brahman eternally because he is full. There was never a point that he did not have it. And it has always been in his mind. And in every creation, which is an eternal cycle of creation, it has been coming out. Vedaste nitya vinnatvat shrutayashcha akilaihi shrutehe. That is why it is called shruta, shruti. Shruti is heard. It is not composed. Yeah, it is just heard. Yeah. So Vedas are eternal and always of the same form. It is present in the mind of Brahman, always in the same form. The presence of Vedas in Brahman's mind is not caused at any given time because creation cycles are eternal. At the commencement of each creation, Vedas are uttered by Brahman in the same order, with the same letters, with the same accent, without any change. That is why they are called Amnaya. Vedas are seen by Brahman, says this the Brahmanda Purana. Yeah? Brahman sees the Vedas, but we hear the Vedas. Vedas are only heard by all others. That is why it is called Shruti. Vedas are partly revealed by seers who had heard them in previous birth by the grace of Supreme. Creation of Vedas only mean their manifestation from an unmanifest state during each creation. There is no question of Vedas having been created at any given point of time. Okay, so these key points cover two aspects, that Vedas are Apaurushaya and Vedas are Nitya, eternal, Nityatva. Anything that is Nitya, well, Nityatva, and it is real. It has to mean, even Anitya entities are also real. It has to be real. Not Mithya. Vedas are not Mithya. That is a view of certain schools of Vedanta. That is a key point. Vedas are real. They are Nitya. They comes out of the mind of Brahman and they are eternal. Okay. So I just want to close at this point because there is so much more to discuss when Mundaka Upanishad says, Vak Vivritashta Vedaha Tasmad Richa Samani Yajumshi, that this Paramatma is giving this every creation for the souls to work out their salvation. And how does he do this is what the rest of the verse is going to describe. So, but before we do that, I think what we have is still a lot of ideas to discuss about the eternalities of the Vedas, because what I want to touch upon is the ancient philosophical polemics between Tathagata or the Buddhist and the Vedantists. Buddhists rejected the Vedas. Yeah. And then Vedantists rejuvenated it. So what are those historical arguments? Okay. Why did the Buddhists reject the Vedas is an important academic question. They said Vedas have 7 defects. Okay. If you remember in the very first part of this session, I said there are only 7 defects of words, and anything that is without that is defectless. Buddhists or Tathagatas, we will not call them as Buddhist philosophers, we call them as Tathagatas, which is how it was in the Vedic times. So the Tathagatas also said Vedas are full of defects, and they have 7 defects. Okay? How do you reconcile this? It may not be Tathagatas, it is also the Charvakas, it is also the other systems of philosophies and religions that may exist out there that may reject the Vedas. That is their prerogative, so they are very welcome. God's universe is a very democratic place. Everybody has a view here. But if somebody comes to me and says your Vedas are unauthoritative, we should be equipped to try and answer that question as to why Vedas are apaurushaya. Yeah. We can, of course, ignore them and say, look, your Jiva Swabhava is that, so I have no reason to correct you. That is not the argument here. It is to reaffirm our position as to Vedas are the supreme source of knowledge. Why that is the case? So we will take that from how that argument between Tathagatas and Vedantis come about, that Acharya describes in this first Paricheda of Tattva Nirnaya, which is very, very interesting piece of work, very academic work that talks about the eternality of the Vedas. And I hope today I was able to capture some of those ideas. So on that note, I'm going to close, and then we'll carry on with this for the next session, and then we come back and move towards our verses. Okay. All right. On that note, Krishna Pranamastu. If there are any questions, we can pick it up at this point.
Madhu, what it is, anything which has got a start date will have an end. Yeah. So it's just, if you said about it was there in the Brahman, in the God's mind all the time. So if it was not there, that means it will end, isn't it? So that argument itself will hold where it is there always.
Yeah. Excellent point, Sudarshan.
So, Madhuji, whatever Vishwamitra heard must be from inside him, isn't it? Through Antaryamin. Because outside noise, anything coming from outside is, like you said, it's sound, dhvani.
So,
How we experience is because it can't be through the brain then, our mind. It has to be from inside him, the varnas. I don't know, I was just thinking what you said. I was thinking.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, Shilaji. Very, very interesting point. So the intuition, it's about, there are 2 types of knowledge, right? There is the intuitional knowledge and there is the intellectual knowledge. There are 2 knowledges. Intellectual knowledge is what we do in our daily work. Intuitional knowledge is that usually brings paradigm shifts in civilizations. Intuitional knowledge that you discovered, Newton discovered, intuited gravity. There's so many things was intuited. So that intuition is what Rishi Vishwamitra had. And that intuition, what is the origin of that intuition is a much deeper question. Does the intuition happen in the brain? Did the intuition happen in the mind? Or did the intuition happen in the soul, which is the sentient being there? All others are jada. They are not capable of self-initiated action. Only the sentient being, which is the soul, which is capable of self-initiated action. So this self-initiated, this soul, which is a self-initiated thing, intuits. And how that intuition happens, why did it happen to Vishwamitra, that intuition that he grasped the sequences of Varanas, and then he sent those signals to his mind, brain, and the vocal cords, then he recited this. So the Varanas are there everywhere in creation. Of course, as you say, there is this Antaryaman. Without Antaryami's Prerana, of course, nothing is going to happen. The Antaryami Prerana happens because that soul called Vishwamitra has got certain attributes. And again, that comes in the next class. We'll talk about, can you and me intuit the Vedas? 100% not. Yeah, says the Brahmanda Purana. Vimshant Lakshanato Anunaha Tapasvi Bahuvedavid Veda Ityeva, and it goes on. So Brahmanda Purana talks about the qualities of these souls that are able to intuit this. Okay, so it's all about intuition, and it is the soul that intuits, and the soul picks up these sequences of varnas and then it recites this. And that is how the various mandalas of Rig Veda, right? There are 10 mandalas, right? So Vishwamitra Mandala is the third mandala. Then of course you have Vamadeva Mandala, Shatarchi Mandala, and so on and so on. They're beautiful, great rishis who have intuited great
And
knowledge.
what about this? You said something about early morning dreams in one of the classes, which I'm not able to put it out. How to put it? Do they come from the mind, or do they?
Which one? Sorry,
Because you
Shivaji.
hear God's voice. Some people, they hear God's voice or something like that. You said sometime. I don't know. I don't remember
I
very
think
well.
what we were talking about is the Sarva Shabda Vachyatva of Brahman. Every sound is an epithet of God. So that we will, if you can bear with me, we will discuss that in the next class. How can all sounds? We said there are infinite Varanas, but we use only 51 Varanas to communicate, and that is what is the Vedas all about. And there must be something much beyond that, that is beyond our comprehension. And actually, the Veda says Lakshmi Narayana and all may be having communication in an entirely different platform. But for us, all the sounds, they talk about Brahman alone. So if you allow me, we can do that next week, Shilaji.
Yeah.
Sharaji,
Thank
you had a question or a comment?
I have a comment, sir, if I may. I think the lady was referring to Brahmi Murta, which is around 3:30 in the morning, when you can get intuition from God.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, possible. So yeah. That's an interesting. Yeah, thank you very much. That is Srikanji. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, Brahmi Murta. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, excellent. So a couple of announcements before we close today's session. The first one is next week.
Sorry, Madhu, there is a conversation in the chat.
Right. Okay, let's have a look. Suresh, the work of humans is indeed Paurushaya, but I would assume the status of Vedas is not impacted because of human interpretations. Anyway, it is perhaps impossible for humans to interpret an infinite verse. Yeah, thank you very much, Suresh ji. And again, this is the democracy of Vedas also. The Vedas just come out of Brahman's walk, okay? And then we souls, based on our own attributes, we interpret, understand it in different way, and then try and make our own journey here. Some of us, if you are Sattvikas, we may go to moksha eventually. If you are of a Tamasika nature, you will go down to Andhatamas using Vedas itself, okay, of wrongly interpreting and understanding. And those of us who are not even remotely interested in Vedas will be going round and round in circles as described in Panchagni Vidya. So yeah, Vedas are there. How we make use of it is important. Very beautifully put, Sureshji. Thank you very much. Shobhaji has said, long piece. My opinion is authorless Vedas are Apaurushaya. Veda Vyasa composing BS is Apaurushaya. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Lots of very, very thank you.
And Madhu, will you be doing Vaikari Madhyama Parapashyanti? I mean, will you be explaining that?
Yeah, we can do that. You remember we did that in.
Yeah, I think we have done this.
We have done it when we did the thingy on Gayatri and Om, where you can have Akara. So there is this Nada, Bindu, Atinada, Shanti, Atishanta, and all those kind of ideas of how the sound is manifested. Yeah, I can bring back those slides and have a brief discussion. Yes, we will do that. Sheila.
Thank you. Yeah.
Excellent. On that, so that is the first announcement. Is sorry, I forgot what I was saying. So the first announcement is Harish Ji is going to be doing chapter 3 next Sunday. So that's going to be very interesting. We have again a intercontinental group that is coordinating chapter 3 Gita Chintana. So join us for that. And then we also have Sudarshan talking to us about, every year we have had our annual day celebrations where we have made an attempt to get together and meet in person. This is a very virtual forum, of course, but if we can make effort to meet at however possible, that's good. So every year we have made that effort. Last year we had it in Budapest in Hungary. And this year, Sudarshan ji wants to coordinate a annual day celebration in Stoke. Sudarshan,
yeah, on the 11th of May evening, yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit more about how you're planning that, Sudarshan? You got about 3 to 4 weeks.
Well, we got 3 or 4 weeks. We thought like we'll do it in the evening by 5 to 10 or something like that. So it makes it a bit easier rather than the whole day. And it's the hall is booked. and I'll arrange sort out the dinner and everything. And it's only a question of maybe Madhu's lecture followed by discussion and, bit of social evening. And we have a similar to AGM, we plan what do we do for the next 1 year. How do we take it forward? What have we done so far? And, what are the next steps among everybody democratically again? So, so we'll do that more informally, definitely.
Yes, sure, Sudarshan. Thank you very much. Sounds exciting. So, yeah, so we'll have some lectures. Doesn't have to be me. We'll have some people who want to share their ideas and views and stuff. So, itineraries we can work around over the next 3 weeks. So those of us, I'm sorry, this is a UK event, but if any of you can fly into Manchester or Heathrow, very, very welcome. But
or Birmingham.
Birmingham, very, very welcome. So we'll work out the itinerary. Sudarshan, please, we'll share the itinerary in the Sahiti group.
Yeah. In the next few days, we'll send you the proper invite here. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So,
Thank you.
Harish, are you there? Do you want to tell us briefly about how you plan to do it? No, Harish is not here. Okay. So, Suresh, do you want to take us through Om and we close today's session? Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So, see you next week for Gita Chantana. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.